So come on over here and sit down. We're going to have a little chat before we get underway. So while we were, okay, you can relax actually. You can sit on your rear end if you like. I don't mind. So I can remember being at Sensei's dojo and him telling me to sit down and me sitting down in my ass and him going, "Go fast, sit on your knees." And I could take about 15 minutes of it before my knees started giving out. So James and I were discussing what we would impart this weekend. And we were thinking, oh, maybe a kata, maybe application practices, and we thought, well, there's, people are coming from different styles with different insights and different perspectives, so probably better to go directly to the heart of what that one common thread that weaves the fabric of our tradition together, and that is application practices to kata. And so everything that I'm going to deliver today is based upon that premise. And way back in the beginning when I started teaching seminars, I just assumed everybody was up to speed on what I was doing. And as I would traverse through the seminar, delivering technique here and there, I would get millions of questions. Oh, why are we doing this? Why I do in our school we do this and this. And then I said, it's probably better to give a short discussion on what it is that we do, so that there is a theoretical, historical, philosophical, pedagogical, however you want to look at it, foundation behind what we're doing. And that way, it allows us to spend more time on the technique and less time talking, so to speak. So the application divisions that I want to look at today include things like joint lock, pressure point takedown, strangulation, throw, grappling, groundwork, digging into the cavities of the body unprotected by the skeletal structure, and targeting anatomically weak parts of the body as well. And there's interesting about looking at the kata application. Someone will ask, what does that movement mean? In our school we do this, in another school we do that. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting, rather than taking a guess at what something meant, if you were actually able to understand the contextual premise on which the technique worked? For example, an act of violence. And I'm constantly bombarded with the question, well, you never know what's going to happen. It's not random. If it's random and unscripted, how could you possibly effectively negotiate that? Why, I suppose finding that calm within a storm, so to speak, is what the training is all about. And so, for example, if I said, look, how about, we're not talking about weapons. We're not talking about a melee inside a gang fight. We're not even talking about somebody out in the street saying, hey, I don't like you, let's dance. Because if we were, the training methods used to accomplish those outcomes would not be what we're doing in karate. It simply wouldn't address it. And if that was the case, if it was just about pounding somebody, well, wouldn't that mean just the biggest and strongest guy would be the best? Or, hey, I'll meet you at 4 o'clock outside, we're going to be in a fight. I could train for it, I could warm up, I could do everything, right? The premise of self-protection, self-defense, was based upon the fact that you don't want to fight. This is defensive. I don't want to fight. And if somebody's calling me on, or I have the luxury of seeing someone right in front of me, as unusual as it may seem, especially for the male psyche, there is an alternative to fighting. And that's by walking away or saying, I don't want to fight. So then, where is the junction between that and needing to defend yourself? Well, then it has to be when you have no other choice and someone has physically attacked you. So So if someone's going to physically attack you and it's just one against one, what are the two principal issues that we are most concerned with? Percussive impact and seizing. Those are the two categories. If you think about, and you know, James, you're well aware of my background. You imagine standing in front of 150 black belts and saying, think of something that might happen in a fight that you'd be concerned with. Getting kicked in the face. Sure, well, so that's a kick, right? Or getting struck, or getting grabbed, thrown down. And somebody will say, a switchblade. I said, we're not talking about weapons. So in fact, if that is the case, and I believe it is, then are you not able to quantify the acts of physical violence that are habitual in human nature? Of course you can. Fortunately, somebody had already done the work for us. And when I started my early research on the Bubishi, I came into contact with Shaolin. I spent three separate occasions there, different amounts of time each time. But the person in charge of the historical department there told me something really quite interesting. I want to share that with you as well today. He said that they had 36 acts of physical violence that they were most concerned with, that were divided in between seizing and impacting. And he said, these are the principal focus of attention for us to learn how to effectively negotiate, escape, and counter. And they were things that you can imagine. Bear hug, front, back, under the arms, over the arms, on the side, every angle you can possibly think of. Chokes, headlocks, everything on the ground, standing up, pressed up against the wall. And in addition to that, many variations on a common theme. So that, let's just take one example, talk about it, and then I hope that you're able to make the deduction based upon the abstract, how it applies to everything else in principle. So let's say, for example, you're grabbed in a headlock. Violently. You don't have time to think about it. It's bang. You're there at an ATM, putting your card in, the next thing you know, you have the life being squeezed out of you. So how then would you effectively deal with that under those circumstances? An interesting quote goes something like, well, you know, it's always the dog in the fight in the dog, and the circumstances in which it happens. But one thing for sure is that your neck is being squeezed, there's a lot of pain, and you're probably going to be rendered unconscious. How do you deal with that? Well, somebody said, well, wouldn't it be important that we first study that act of violence to understand what its dynamics are? Yeah, why is a headlock dangerous in the first place? Huh? What makes your head being squeezed or your neck being squeezed so dangerous? And so once then you appropriate that information to understand why it is dangerous, you are now armed with the foundation knowledge with what to do against it. So then, after investigating the variables of what you can do against this headlock, you start to explore variations on the common theme. Well, how about if you fell down? Or how about if it's a big guy, you're a little guy, or vice versa, all of these other variables. So this is all done in an academic sense. You're studying the dynamics. You're understanding why it works the way it does. Now it's time to recreate the act of physical violence and reenact those defensive tactical strategies used against it. So that again, that's psyche about, yeah, big masculine. Let's take the biggest, strongest guy, put him on the weakest guy, and let's see you get out of that. I see it all the time at seminars. Okay, we're doing this drill. Good luck. I'll come around and check everybody. Invariably, I bump into somebody who they're pounding the living shit out of each other. And I go, yeah, boys, maybe tone it down a little bit. How much? Right to the bottom. Let's well, I mean, you think about it, a responsibility from an instructor's point of view is the safety of the people that they're working with, right? And if you say, look, for example, parents, if you're going to teach your child something that they have never learned before, you want to make sure that they're going to remain safe. It's not the 50s anymore. Hey, Johnny's going to learn to drive a bike. I just put him out and shoot him down the hill. It doesn't work that way anymore. There are considerations. So the idea and the considerations are because of the safety issue, right? I mean, the nature of what we're doing is physical violence. You want to make sure nobody's going to get hurt, particularly in the learning stage. So we use the term passive resistance. Passive resistance in the appropriation stage allows both the learner to become familiar with the act of violence and the application practices. At what point, as instructors, should we turn up the gas then? How can we recognize in our classes who's ready to go further, harder, stronger, whatever? Well, boredom is usually one of the great initiatives. I can see that kid is no longer challenged by doing that at this particular level. So we use the term then to gradually to exponentially. We're going to invest the practice with more aggressive resistance. How much more aggressive? I use the term Sensei Miyagi. Sorry, that's a private joke. Let's say Sensei Murphy. Well, Sensei Murphy is the guy who's going to teach you what can go wrong, will go wrong, when you don't want it to go wrong. In this case, the idea of failure and the inability to get it to work becomes the lesson itself. So what type of variables do we need to use inside this graduated system of aggressive resistance until such time as it doesn't matter how hard you're going or who you're going with? You are able always to effectively negotiate that act of violence. I can't tell you. I can't tell you in the same way I can't tell you how long it's going to take little Alice to ride her bicycle. That's the beautiful thing about Shuhari, these three principles of learning. You learn from tradition, you break the chain of tradition, then you transcend it. So you've got this, you've got this system. I love what T.S. Eliot says in one of his writings. He says, we never cease from exploration, but at the end, we arrive back where we first started and know it for the very first time. And you see that, I call those little blinding flashes of the obvious, those little epiphanies. You go, oh, that's what it is. Oh, that's what it is. Every March, while I was living up on the mainland between 85 and 95 at the Buddha University, we used to have a spring break, kind of a symposium, international seminar, if you will, a Buddha seminar. Started around 1989-90, and I don't know if they're still going anymore. Are they still going up there? Yeah. They went on for many, many years. And inside that you get a little chance to work with all the various different types of martial arts and have the lectures on the theory and practice and historical and so on. But what I found most fascinating about that was bringing various learners together from other traditions. So, I couldn't do Basai Da, I couldn't do Kenko Da, I couldn't do Seisan because everybody, we only had limited time to work. And I said, oh, the drills are the best thing to do. And invariably, nobody, he's from that style, I'm not from that style, I don't want to waste my time over there. And so this idea of grabbing somebody and going into an act of physical violence always worked best. And a few of my automatic go-to techniques dealing with people I'd never dealt with before was to make sure that it was interesting, fun, and painful. And I mostly functional. And so we started with the bear hug. And we worked around. We'll do some of that later today as well, by the way. And then I said, if you wrap up a guy's arm on the bear hug, and then somebody said, "Oh, that's an overhook. In MMA, that's an overhook." I said, "Okay." And I said, if you have his right arm locked up, and you have your right hand free, you're able to stick your hand in his face. He's only got one hand left. Do you think he's going to pull it out of the way or push it out of the way? Because you're shoving him so hard like this. It's interesting to see how everybody goes to instinct. You just shove it out of the way. I said exactly right. And as you shove it out of the way, the elbow winds up on the face. And then you wrap the grapevine around the neck. And when your arms are already locked in, you grab your fists like this. And in order to make sure that the partner is not able to fortify his stance or position, you then wrap one of your legs around the partner's leg and pull it in tight. And then from here, you just lift your hand up like this from here. And everybody goes, "Oh, that's good, let's give it a try." And people were tapping, right? "Oh my God." And I said, let's back out a little bit. Leave the nice black belt alone now. And let's try that move by itself. Everybody go, "Okay." The guy goes, "That's Basai Dai." And I said, "Oh, what a coincidence. That's Basai Dai." And so for the rest of the day, in this what I call feel-good seminars, people go, "Oh my God, that's Seipai. Oh, that's Seipai. Oh, that's Gojisho," and so on. And so once the learner was able to embrace a way of thinking about that which brings us together, there was no more barrier. "I can't learn it because I'm not sure I can." "Oh, that's from Goju. I can't do it. That's Goju." Here was an act of physical violence that doesn't belong to any style. It's just an act of violence. And it doesn't matter where you were in the world or at what time you were in the world. As long as it was a person, that was a quantifiable act of physical violence that you could study it. And through this pathway, supported by theory, resulting in function, it became simple. All these BFOs, all these blinding flashes of the obvious became obvious to everybody. Oh my God, this is something valuable and worth learning. Now there's this huge collection of two-person drills against every quantifiable act of violence you can imagine. And it didn't happen overnight. You know, you might spend hours on one of those drills. Maybe you weren't Alice, and you couldn't get the bike right away. It might have taken you a week, a month. You might have never got it, to tell you the truth. And so in this learning curve, you can't say it's going to take you this long to become an expert. And I said yesterday when we were talking at lunch, not everybody does the same thing the same way to achieve the same outcome. Girls, we were talking about this, what is it, the woke cancel culture and pronouns and stuff like that. I'm old school, man. Call me whatever you want, but I say girls don't learn the same way boys do. Children don't get it the same way adults do. Challenge, whether it's physical, intellectually, whatever, learners don't get it the same way alpha, beta, theta athletes do. But you know something? The act of physical violence, that would be the contextual premise upon which your means would be a function, it never changes. And so in that regard, and if you think in terms of, look, the fighting arts can be at least 5 things. We talked about it yesterday. It can be a form of physical fitness. Obviously not aerobic. It can be a sport governed by and dictated by the rules and regulations. It can be a business. I used to make a joke and say, it was the oldest business of all. And somebody reminded me, no, they may have been protecting that other business. Who knows? And certainly it can be a lifestyle. I doubt there's anybody here who doesn't believe in that and live by it to some degree. But those are all byproducts of this art. Those are not why this art was created. This art stems from the need to protect oneself. And necessity has always been the mother of invention. And so inside this area of self-defense, there are no rules. And as a result of that, while we go through our practices today, if only in the back of your mind somewhere, please keep in mind, this is not the style. This is a body of principles supported by, a body of mechanics supported by immutable principles. I didn't make them up. But interestingly enough, for those of you who are old enough to remember, when I first started teaching seminars back in 1993, it was Terry O'Neill from Fighting Arts International magazine. At the time, arguably the best rag on the planet, the magazine, Shotokan, KUGB, incredible martial artists. I owe him such a debt of gratitude for opening the door for me. Remember being so nervous that day in front of all those KUGB black belts, least of all Gary Spires and Dennis Martin, those guys. And they were not used to a lecture before training. That was a new thing. I had been, McCarthy's going to talk you to death today. Maybe he'll talk you to death. That's a good self-defense, right? He'll talk you to death. And that's that mentality. We have a kotowaza. I don't see it here in the dojo, but it's bun buryodo. Everybody knows that. Bun means scholarly, intellectual learning. Bu is the military, the martial, the physical. So there needs to be this balance between both in order to assure that you are on the correct pathway. And, all teachers get this. They love it. Give me more. I need that. That's going to help further grow my understanding of what brings us together. And you see that imbalance when it's just physical. Who's the toughest? My style's better than yours. And conversely, on the other side, you see it as well. Oh my goodness. Do you feel the chi? So where is the balance? So, right now I'm working on this Kyan Chotoku project. A couple of years ago, we discovered a book that was seemingly never written because it was never published in 1932. And of course, at the time, I was very interested in Moto Buchoki, having collected his works and translated them, and then interviewing, meeting a lot of his direct students, many of whom are all dead now. That project was published 25 years ago. And so I saw this wonderful correlation between what Kyan was doing in contrast to what Motobu was doing. And I found it interesting that they actually are blood related. Both born at the same time, and both died just a year apart from each other. Both had almost the same teachers, albeit at different times. And anyway, the point of this little part of the conversation was, when we ask today, what's your art? It's Goju-ryu. Which subdivision of Goju-ryu? Meibukan, Shotokan, Kodokan, Jundokan, so on, or is it Shito, Goju, Shoto? And there's such an emphasis placed upon cosmetic appearance and rule-bound practices that are kept alive and often described as the original art. People say, no, isn't there something that predates that? Isn't there something that predates for the styles or the practices and so on? No, it's this way. And I thought, back in the beginning, when I started this project, I said, how is it possible that critical thinking, that ability to think outside the box, has not found its way into mainstream karate? Even the idea of approaching a senior authority of some of these practices resulted in either being ignored, ostracized, or even more. And it wasn't until I discovered more about the culture. I was reading a work by Dr. Stephen Fabian, and he said, he was talking about a different martial art, but remember, Budo brings into play Judo, Kendo, Aikido. There's many spokes on that wheel, okay? And he said, Budo is a microcosm of the culture from which it comes, a miniature representation of social values, rituals, and so on. So, by virtue of learning more about the culture, so too do you learn more about the art, and vice versa. And I thought, okay, what cultural mechanism is it then that allows this mindset to be perpetuated? And I discovered it. First of all, you do know that Japan is a conformist-based culture based upon a millennium of certain mindset. Outside of this culture, I'll just put it on because we're speaking and it's being recorded. Those of you interested in more of this, you might look toward better understanding three things. One is called Nihonji Ron. Nihonjin Ron. It means the uniqueness of we Japanese people. The other one is called Kokusai Hongi. Kokusai Hongi. Kokutai Hongi. Kokutai Hongi means national polity. And the last one is called Shushin. National polity. Putting the group before your individual needs and desires. And more. And Shushin means blind worship to the emperor as a god. I'll let you look at those later to see how a guy by the name of Inoue Kaoru, back in the Meiji period, reshaped modern Japan's thinking. But inside a conformist-based culture, there's a mechanism used. We see it mostly in institutions, police department, fire department, military, the school system through the Monbusho, and certainly through the martial arts. It's called the Senpai Kohai system. And that is a system of imitative behavior. And through the trickle-down effect, the mindset is perpetuated and never challenged. Because the tenet is based upon Confucian thought. Confucian thought is based upon filial piety, ancestor worship, which in our case means no questioning of authority. So imagine that. You can't question authority. You have to do what the seniors tell you or imitate that particular behavior to be accepted. And if you stand out, what happens? So there's a wonderful koto waza, which I will leave you before we get started today. It's called Deru Kugi wa Utareru, or Deru Kugi. Kugi means nail, Kui means peg. The protruding nail ultimately gets pounded down. So if you are a protruding nail in a very inflexible culture, you want to know why would you do something like that? It's terribly dysfunctional. That does not equate to self-defense. That's a rule-bound process by which nobody's meaning to truly hurt you in the first place, and the self-defense technique can be carried out in any fashion that you want. I watched the Aikido demonstration one day at the Budokan in Tokyo, and the people beside me go, "Oh my God, it's fantastic!" And I went, "What do you, did you," by the way, it was Shiora Gozo sensei, by the way, was remarkable. He's a remarkable martial artist to start with, but that's another story. I said, "What is it?" He goes, "Did you see how that little guy beat up those 20 attackers?" And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were cheering for the attackers." He said, "Why?" I said, well, because if they would have attacked him with anything outside of what the template was, he probably wouldn't have been able to negotiate it. I don't think so. And so, going back to this idea of random and unscripted. So I said, here's the act of physical violence. Here's the template pathway that you follow using passive resistance to aggressive resistance, changing your partners constantly. I don't know, it might take you, remember, learning is not the same as practice. And practice is not the same as training. Those are three separate things with three separate outcomes and three separate assessment criteria. But the practice part is where we're supposed to get the perfection from. So how long will we have to practice for, and with who, and under what set of circumstances, to be able to make sure that if that ever really did happen to me, I would be able to effectively negotiate it. That's the pathway. So you need to condition the body, cultivate the mind, and nurture the spirit. Did I miss anything? Because we're already talking about a body of functional practices. So isn't that the art itself? Isn't that what the art is? Is there a name for it? I'm not sure, but isn't that the art? As opposed to, okay, oh, I went to a seminar, I got my fist turned. I'm so happy. I went to lots of those seminars, as I'm sure many of you did. So where, at what junction am I going to get the real thing? Where's the martial art part? So I put forth an idea that the cosmetic appearance of solar representations in a geometrical pattern was not the art. The art was the two-person drills. And in order to be able to have a working, you don't get a makimono. It's not like the koru in the old days. When you finish learning from a particular master, you got a menkyo. He's learned all of my newas or whatever here, and you got a menkyo. And if you get all the menkyos at the end, you got a menkyo kaiden. Goodbye. Open your own school. Good luck. I'm not Tenshin Koshorin Katori Shinto Ryu anymore. I'm now another version of swordsmanship. Let's call it Kashima Shinto Ryu. My name is Sukara Bogoden. So. You have this program. We didn't have that in karate. So how about then a living, breathing representation, reservoir, if you will, of all the techniques? So I said, okay, let's put all the joint manipulation, limb entanglements in one drill. So you could rehearse them or cherry pick any one you want in a seminar. How about blood and air deprivation? We'll do the same thing. Balance displacement, fighting on the ground, escapes and counters, pressure points. Or you could cherry pick and put them all together into a 2-hour seminar. Or a 2-year undergraduate program at a college if you wanted to. Because you have everything there. And then by virtue of say, I want to create a solo representation of this so that I'll have it for myself. Yes, that's what I want. So I take, the top 10 or 15 acts of physical violence. By the way, when this is discussed in great detail, you start asking 150 people, what the common act of physical violence? Oh. It's surprising to see how many people start repeating the same thing after 8 or 10. A bear hug, a punch in the face, jacket pull over, Oh, we said that. We repeated that, So you take the 8 or 10 most common acts of physical violence. Now you already know the two-person drills and the variations on a common theme. You separate the two, attacker here, defender here. You say, let me just see you rehearse. Yeah, okay, good. Let's then fuse these solo representations together to create something greater than the sum total of its individual parts, and let's call that a mnemonic mechanism. A way with which to remember all of these other things you've already spent months, years possibly, learning and mastering. They are all now contained in that 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, solo representations. But could you imagine the solo representation being imparted to someone else without all the background information? What might happen then? Why are you doing this? I'm not sure. Oh, let me venture a guess. Oh, he's punching at you. So what I was alluding to earlier, for those of you old enough to remember when I first started doing these, the only social media in those days was a place called Cyber Dojo back in the 90s, run by Howard High. I remember actually at one time when I was describing the two-person drills that we learn and teach in Kato Shinto-ryu, for example, in Kenjutsu, I remember him saying, what's Kato Shinto-ryu? Interesting, he's actually a teacher of Kato Shinto-ryu now. But my point is this, I was so heavily criticized. He made that up. There's no grappling in karate. He made it all up. It's a lie. It has no value. I had no idea what I was teaching and speaking about was threatened the insecurity of so many people. Fortunately, there were more people who were not threatened by it. But my little joke these days is people are being congratulated today for teaching what they criticized me for in the beginning. And now two-person drills are common everywhere. Everybody does two-person drills. Everybody does shoving, trapping, checking. Old hat. Even if you shake an apple tree, oranges don't fall out of it. You know, there was somebody just here a minute ago. It's interesting. I know those guys very well for 40 years. At that dojo, you never saw chipping, tracking. You never saw that. Joint leg striking, you never saw that. Until one guy started doing it. And what happened to him? They kicked him out. Fortunately, so many people went with him as well. So today, there's so much more than just lip service paid to cosmetic appearance. That's the way. It's not this way, it's that way. The application practice is this, and you look at it and you go, okay, thank you very much. And if you're saying it's the art, it's a cultural recreation, I have no problem with that. It's a lifestyle, I have no problem with that as well. It's a sport. Many of you know, I come up through the sport, 15 years of banging, the blood and guts era. I know it, I like it. I think it's a wonderful mechanism. I don't think it's the art. I don't think that's the source of origin, but I think it's a wonderful practice. And the business and all the other stuff as well. I mean, why not? But from a self-defense point of view, you don't want to be learning rule-bound practices to defend yourself. Now, maybe arguably, it's probably better than knowing nothing. And probably running is going to be your best self-defense anyway. And I said, all the other things, makiwara, chi, those are supplementary training areas. They're not principal. Those build strength and character. Failure becomes the lesson. So we looked at multiple and Kyan, and I thought, I've seen these before. I have seen these drills before. And there's one thing by reading about it and looking at the pictures, and then you start to bring them to life. And a lot of people say that can't be done. We know who said that, right? And he said, you can't be done. Can't learn out of a book like that. And look, I agree. Maybe not everybody can learn out of a book. But I look at my friends in Europe who run the reenactment, Western martial art reenactment, and from the Viking berserkers to Spanish rapier, bastard, hand and a half, all these other different weapons, and they have brought that back to life by studying the works of Hans Stauffacher, Nicholas Bedler, people who had recorded that in history. And by studying it and understanding the science and the principles behind it, they've been able to bring it back to life again. Why can't you do the same thing when you've got the pictures and the explanations beside it? There's not even any guesswork. The guy grabs you by the throat. You spit in his face, finger flick his testicles, slap his ears, and then bounce his head off the ground like a basketball. What's difficult about that? Probably don't want to do too much reality and training, but that's easy to understand. And then when I went back to the Bubishi again, particularly with the 48 two-person postures, one guy does this, the other guy does this is what will happen. And then Articles 14 and 16 about using the hard fist and the escapes and counters. And it all made sense. This is nothing new. And I started looking at other things. Kano Jigoro's 1895 book on jiu-jitsu. It's a silly story, but it serves a point. Many years ago, a colleague of mine said, they've just made a rediscovery of an excavation site in Egypt. And I can remember very long time ago learning about the Beni Hassan temple tombs. I'd just never been there. So I got on a flight from Tokyo, flew to South Africa, up to Cairo, down the river, into Elmina, camel ride over, there it was. 5,000 years old, and in addition to all the other things chiseled into the stone, was an empty-handed fighting art. Strikes, headlocks, barrags. That was the last straw for me because I kept clinging on. Well, okay, it wasn't Okinawa. Oh, it's China. I went to China many times. Wasn't the Shaolin Temple. It wasn't Fujian. Wasn't Shanghai, Beijing. Oh. And the further back I continued to look, the clearer the page looked. It's just human beings. And this is what's possible. And this is what's not possible. And how you might handle this act of physical violence might be different from the way that James says, because of the dog and the fight and the dog here. But in principle, that act of physical violence is never going to change. And the mechanics and the principles that you use will always be the same. So, that's enough talking for today. We're just going to stand in front of each other, and you're going to come in and swing in and to do an ude uke from here. And as you come around, and you're going to meet with a shito uke here from here, this way here. And you hook the hands together, and pull, and rise up, and rotate it around, and hook from here, okay? So the same thing the other way. You're going to impact from here, and chop, hook. Don't separate. Keep that kimochi all the way around, tight, and hook this way to pull, okay? So you get impact, chop, hook, and rotate. This is going to be about a 10-part drill. It's going to be fast and furious and lots of striking in it as well. So we'll just go slow to start out, okay? I'll piece it together, 1, 2, 3, and then we'll go back. Okay? All right, start. Hello. Partner up. I'll try to keep in the habit of keeping your free hand, the hand that's not engaged. Have a look here, James. My free hand, so to speak. So when I go here, rather than keep it down here, I want to try to keep it here. You see? And then from here, I do the cut here. And so the other hand comes back. And it stays in the center line, okay? And I hook, and I hook. So it's always, I'm always, look, there's a few different ways to describe that. I learned it as miotote, miotote. Other people say meifu todi. And it's kind of like the mother and child hand, or the father and son hand, or the monk and the disciple hand. You know, one hand, the child never ventures very far away from the mother. And this is a very indicative of Southern style Chinese martial arts. You'll see the hands are always very tight together like this, okay? So keep that one in mind, okay? And just, if only from the distance, if the face is the target, that's point A, this is point B, it's a very long way. From here, you cut down half the distance. So when time and hyoshi and things like that are important, you want everything working toward. Hai, onegaishimasu. Impact, chop, hook, see? And I'll come up and roll. Oh, no. Put your hand like this. See, okay, see, there you go. So the hands are always staying tight together like this, you see? There you go. Hi. Hi. Okay, good. Let's add another player to the game here. Another player to the game. So we go ureuke, shito, hook it, keep the elbow in, come around, hook it again. Now I want you to slide underneath with your opposite hand, come underneath, close fist, and lots of body connection here, okay? Here, and slide it around. So this hand's going to stay in the uchi uke department from here. here like this, and you're going to bring that elbow in from here, so we wind up like this. Watch that again. So we did ude, chop, hook, hook, and under. Now from here, once you bring it down and lock it in place, I want you to rotate, koshi hinero, rotate your hips to the left 180 degrees and turn it into a tetsuyuchi like this, okay? So it goes like this now, it goes. And by the way, the techniques that go into this drill are all techniques you already know. It doesn't matter what style you come from. It's age, geidan, soto, ugi, kake, and so on, okay? So ude, chop, hook, hook, and 1, and 2. Yes? Okay, onegaishimasu. And do it both sides. Do it both sides. Hayame. Hey, watch here. I can tell you guys are both quite experienced. I always wonder those who are the most relaxed. So save the power, guys. Believe me, you're going to need it for what we wind up. What I didn't say in the lecture part this morning, which I use it for the talk when we come back at lunch, is that the pathway of practice, it has to have some form of engagement. It's one thing to have all the 2-person drills and you're just practicing for fun and learning and getting over the part until you get functional. But what happens, let me put it into swordsmanship. And I use Western swordsmanship because it's easiest for me. I teach you how to hold a sword and the dynamics behind it and how to receive an attack and how to counter it. And I'll say there's 8 gates of attack and defense, and I've showed you, and we've worked them back and forth in a million drills. What's the prize at the end? Here, it's a judo dojo. I teach you ukemewaza. I teach you entries and setups. What's the prize? It's a kendo dojo. I show you how to put the gear on. I teach you tsuki, men, do, kote. You get your sabaki working. What's the prize at the end? It's engagement, right? Because engagement, it then is like the pecking order. It's the struggle for survival here, When you get out on the floor in judo and begin to randori, that guy thought to let you throw him, and so on. So where's the prize for this? So it is in a practice, I call the practice ri-ai tegumi. That's what I call it. Historically, it was better known as kake demashi. Yeah, I'm going to meet you beside the bridge over there at 4 o'clock. Bob, we'll see who's got the best fight. 2 people out in the back of the hijibashi, crossing hands. And it always started like this. Because if it didn't start like that, there was no engagement. You watch the Chinese, that's what they do. It gets from here. And so the trap or whatever happens, it starts from here. Whether it's a shove and then a trap or whatever. But it starts from here. And so the word is, if you're not touching, there's no engagement. So where we're going to go with this pathway is to kakedemashi. Everything comes together, just like you do with the swordsmanship. You've done it all. You're going to do the basics for the rest of your life with a sword? I don't think so. You're going to engage. You're going to duel. You're going to have fun. You're going to test the veracity of your function and have a workout. There's nothing that brings you to life more than engaging in unrehearsed, random, and unscripted acts of physical. I don't know what I'm going to. I don't know what I'm going to do. I go like, he got my arm. I go, Christ, you got my arm. I got my headbutt here. I got to step on the foot. I'm going to clinch. Maybe we're going to go to the ground. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to try to control it. It's only when something that doesn't go the way I want to go, that's where the fun begins. So hey, we're here, ude, kake, and that kake, that's no different than you throw a punch, he punches, that's no different from me banging a head and pulling him in. Or maybe for a bicep bump and an elbow or something. That's you're hooking there. And the same on the other side, if I come around here, maybe I'm digging into stomach 9 or the vagus nerve. I want to dig into it or something like that. So it goes. So, and then you hook and then turn from here, okay? So it goes ude, shito, kake, po, uchi, uke, and then snap it from here. Now, all I'm going to ask you to do, keep this connected and come around here and slap each other's arm like this. You know, like old bro shake? Hey, brother, what's up? Back here. Not up here. Not here. And as you hit the arm, you're going to slide your hand off like this. So we're here like this. You're going to go here, meet in the middle, boom. And as you slide the hand back, this hand's going to come back here. And as you just start to lose connection here, you impact from here. So all it is this, it's again, impact, hook, hook, slide it up, here, breathing. Now, keep connected and slap, slide, chop. We're good? Hey,お願いします。Okay, Yame. Change partners. Same stuff. Another player's coming to the game right now. Here we go. If I'm going too fast for you, let me know. I'll slow it down. Okay, we're good? Okay. All right. Or if I'm going too slow, let me go. I'll speed it up. No problem. Yeah. Now, this is not his or her, you go first, he goes second. It's whoever gets it off first. And you can generally feel, well, see, when you're connected like this, if I push or pull, you feel it right away. So if I take the initiative, watch, I'm going to take a vertical fist, a tatsuken, and punch his face. And all he's going to do is ride it. He's going to ride it, that's all he's going to do, he's going to ride the punch. We call it an age uke. If we were in southern China in Yongchun, we'd call it a bong sao, okay? Just to give you an idea of where we're at, okay? So all he's going to do, when he feels, he's just going to ride it to here. And then he's going to wrap that all the way around like this. Okay, you punch me. I ride it. And then what I do is I keep my fist here, and I ride it all the way around to here. Back to here again, you see? So you have a dynamic tension. He punches, I ride it. Resist it, resist. No, it's too. I need more. Good. You resist it. And then he punches me. I punch him, and he rides it close. I go all the way around to here. Yes? Now let's watch that one more time. impact, chop, pull, pull, uchi uke. Here, remember the slap? 1, impact. He punches right away. Oh, I ride it. Not up here. There's not from here to here, there's no need. I just don't want it here. So I ride it to there. That's good. And then here, impact. Bang! Punch. Ride it. There you go. Ride. Punches me. Ride. Ride it again to here. Are we good? Take it easy. Okay. Let's change partners one more time. Punch. Good. Good. Roll it, roll it, roll it. There you go. Good. Keep it tight. Slow. Hi, Yame. Good, good. And working, having to change partners is absolutely perfect, isn't it? It's absolutely perfect because everybody works at a different pace, right? Everybody's a different size. So, and it's the lesson just on that alone is invaluable. It really is. So, okay. So we're adding a couple more now. So we'll go impact, chop, hook, hook, slide it up to here. Keep those elbows in tight. Snap, speed in. Don't chamber. He punches. I ride it. Keep it tight. Hey, punch. Close the fist, close the fist, close the fist, close the fist. Now, watch. Bring this up. Turn all the way around the other way, and here. 1. Bring it down. Geram barai. Geram barai. Geram barai, not geram uke. Geram barai. Okay, watch it again. So we go here. Impact. Chop. Hook. Don't become complacent now. Don't pay attention. Punch. That's a tight. A little bit more resistance there. That'll tighten up this circle, right? Punch. And as soon as you hit here, you go here. Boom. And then here. Boom. Yeah? Okay. Hey,
question. You said the difference between Geram uke and Geram barai.
Yeah. Uke is usually misinterpreted as block. Uke actually means to receive, as you know, and barai means to sweep. So as opposed to come down to receive that, we're trying to push it off to the side. Yeah. It also dullens the impact for that direct impact because you're unless you're from Kyokushin or Goju where you're banging each other's arms all the time, if you have virgin ulnas, they're going to be pretty sore tomorrow. So that's something you can build up on, by the way. So,はい、お願いします。どうぞ。Oops. Before we start doing what I call, I refer to them as carousel drills. Carousel? The carousel goes around and around. I know that other people have other names for them and so on, but before we do that, we just want to show you here. So let's see where we are. We did the ude-uke. We keep the hands in the center line. Kaki to here. We come up with an uchi-uke. So get in the habit of, it's two separate things here. You're doing this. You're going 1, 2. So it's uchi-uke, 1, and then from here, okay? It's two separate techniques, okay? So 1, and then 2. And then the uchi-uke from here, bang! And using that sensitivity, just like we were doing a pushing hands. He pushed me. I don't push. He pushed me. That's not a punch in the face. That's what Yuriko does, you know. So he pushes. I either get pushed, or I get my arm trapped, or I learn how to rotate and come back. So we have this. You see what I mean? But I feel it. So when he punches, I feel it. I just lift it. I redirect the energy, the kinetic energy, and then I slap it out of the way. And I punch him. Slaps it out of the way. And then we go 1, 2, and watch this. 3, 4, and we're back again on the other side. Same thing. I might initiate the punch this time when we get over there rather than him. If he does it first, I might do it next, you see? So you see how it connects? So let's spend a couple of minutes on the connector part. And then we're going to line up and do carousel drills. I hope you have a lot of fun with that. And then we'll go into our main training, okay? One of many. Okay, let's do some carousel drills. So, let's pick. Oh, Sensei, let's pick you first. Come on, you're here, and everybody else is lined up behind him. Yeah, you're facing that way. Good, there you go. You guys all over here, behind. Sorry. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I suppose it's okay. You are going to engage everybody individually, of course, and I don't care how many you go through. At least 3 sets, okay? But if you want to do more, or less, that's up to you, okay? And when you finish, the next guy's right. You're right on top of him, and the next, and next, and next, okay? So we just keep going around. And when you get to the last guy, he stays there, and you repeat it again. Yeah? Okay, let's go.
So we say 3 sets, that's 3 guys around with him?
Whatever.
Okay.
So the point being this is, because we're on a really tight schedule, we've only got, 8 hours to train over 2 days. It's not much. If I had you all here as my students, we would spend 20 minutes on each guy, and drag it out, because there's nothing more valuable than repetition. There really isn't, But you can't in the seminar, and you also encounter the idea of, we wanted to do more, and the thing is you can spend, the possibilities that come out of this exercise for everything else are, you've done this before? Then you have the second one as well, and then the third, the grappling part, we're also, so this is it's a 3-part drill that leads to the ground and stand up and clinch it, and it's all basic blocking. That's all it is, nothing else. And so the value of this exercise is in seeing the wide range of application of this basic technique. Here it's used as a block. Here it's used as a press. Here it's used as a crush. Oh, here it's used as an escape. Oh, it's used as a lever, so on. And I'll talk more about those 5 ancient machines a little bit later. So, okay, you pick.
So are we just coming in with this? Or is it...
And if somebody wants to test them with a little bit more power or speed, you're welcome to do that. The power, you get the speed, right? You should videotape all of these too. Yeah. What's that? Yeah, hey, make yourself useful, Beth. Come on. Well, that's exactly what later down the road is supposed to happen with these drills. It's supposed to be unscripted and random. Okay, Eugene, you're up. Okay, Yame, that's good. Okay, but give you a little bit of an idea, and I call those carousel drills, just for the obvious thing. And we used to call them something else. I can't even remember what they were called anymore. But so that is one part of of a group of exercises comes in threes. We have a lot to do. I got to start into the multiple choke drills right away because I want to get those done. So you'll walk away with a whole package of drills dedicated to multiple choke, by the way. And then wherever possible, I'm going to say, well, and here's what Kian was doing that looks just like this type of thing. In fact, two of his drills there's no difference at all. They are the same drill, by the way. And we can find the same ones in the Bubishi as well. The Bubishi is older than Kian, and it's older than Motobu, so I'm going to reach out there and make one of those silly deductions from the abstract and think the Bubishi came first before those two guys. And these are timeless teachings. They never change. There's a guy grabs you from behind, you can grab it by the testicles. The pain withdrawal reflex is the same everywhere in the world, for boys anyway. That hand comes down. When I grab, then you follow it up. And based upon this simple nature of science, predetermined pain withdrawal reflex actions become predetermined responses. I know if this guy's here and I go, oh no, he's going to do that. He's going to do that. And knowing ahead of time that these things are going to happen under generic circumstances, then you can exploit those anatomical vulnerabilities that happen with that. And I believe that these timeless techniques that have been handed down over a millennium have never changed. And the reason why they haven't changed is because the act of violence has never changed. And so the storehouse of that information has been kept in kata. And many people then have struggled to, well, what does that move mean? What does this move mean? I'm going to say that if you took the time to get, say, all 36 of the acts of violence, all 36 of the joint manipulations and limb entanglement, all 55 of the balance displacement takedowns, all 72 joint manipulation limb entanglement, all the escapes, all the counters, you spent 2 years or so getting all of that. It's all systematized, by the way. It's already templated. And however you appropriate it, in short, long term, whatever, that you would have then, by virtue of having already done the escapes and counters, oh my God. Oh, when I was getting out of the strangulation, I saw that move. If it quacks, has feathers and flies, it's probably a duck. And so instead of trying to say, well, what's this move mean? You don't have to say what does it mean anymore. You've already done it 400 times in negotiating an escape from a bear hug, you see. Okay, so we're just going to do this next quickly engagement drill because it has everything to do with the multiple choky stuff, and it's called swimming. Swimming. So let's go swimming. Just watch my microphone. So by the way, when you grab a hold of somebody or you clinch, your hands can only ever be in one or of three positions. I'm quantifying that for you. Your hands can be over the person's arms, they can be under the person's arms, or 6 of one, half a dozen of another, either side, you see? And so if I have them up here, what's that? That's on the outside. If I have them down here, what is it? You see? So I know everybody wants to nitpick over little things, you know. Keep it simple, you know. And same from behind as well, you know. There's like a full Nelson, a half Nelson, and a father Nelson. Just testing to see if you're listening to the last one, JG. You'll think about that one, right? Okay. So we're going to do this. We're going to grab under the arm, and we're going to keep our hand. We're not open our hand, and we're just going to go back the other way, and we're going to come in again from here. See? And you notice how I stay very, very close here. I'm not going like this. Very, very, very close. And slide in a little bit of a bump there. Boom. Watch my microphone. Bang. Okay? So this is a pummeling drill. And pummeling is generally the entry to the clinch. And I can't emphasize the importance of this. It's probably the one most neglected part of what brings us together in karate. It's a bread and butter technique, and I don't see anyone in karate. Oh, that's MMA. You know. Okay, height. Partner up, let's go. Partner up. Clinch. That's what that. Okay, change partners. Take it up 5% now. 5% on the aggressive resistance.
Oh.
Let's get a little more grueling in there. Let's go. That's it. That shoulder bumping the chin. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now, it doesn't have to be fast. In fact, transitioning to the other side can take seconds, really, especially if the guy's not letting your arm go, you know. So try a few of those where you're trapping his arm, and you really, in order to get your arm, that's the idea. You'll get more from this. You'll get more from this than going fast and pretty. Make it struggle. That the struggle is the lesson. The failure is the lesson. Okay, yummy. All right, watch this. James says to come over in the center, and Ben, stand in front of James with your back to him. Yeah. James, just grab him in an under the arm bear hug for now. Okay, now. So I'm telling you up front what's going on. He's going to pick you up. He's not going to throw you. He's just going to pick you up. That's what he's going to do. I want you to prevent him from picking you up. That's all, okay? Nothing else. You don't have to beat him up. Just prevent him, like drop your whatever you do, so he can't pick you up, okay? Go. Okay, try it again. Hey. Okay. Would it be fair in assuming that you can't do it, right? Okay, now, again. I want you now to take whatever leg is close to you, let's say your right leg, wrap it in behind his leg. Yep. And get it in there good now. Make sure you get it in good. Okay, pick him up, James. Sorry, Riz. Go. Come on, get up off the ground. All right, so now I'm not telling you we're going to end the world with a simple technique, but what I am going to tell you that one of the 5 ancient machines, this is going to be wedge, will prevent you momentarily. It's not going to take a rocket scientist to figure out, well, that's not working. He's going to reset you and try it a different way or do something else, okay? But in that moment where he tries to pick it and he can't, that's then where you have what we call the Hyoshi, the timing with which to deliver your payload to him, okay? All right. Do it from a front bear hug now. Same thing, go. Again? Okay. Do you guys do row high? Oh, sorry, you're Goju, so you don't do row high, okay. So yeah, I know you do row high. Unfortunately, that doesn't work. Yeah, so you have to do it. No. You don't have the luxury for doing it. Yeah. So I want you to. No, not that way either. Well, I've got 3 more ways. So the fascinating part about an over-the-arm front bear hug, when you think about it. Yeah, sorry, under the arm is fine. Under the arm. When you think about this, it's actually one of the most silly techniques in the world because you leave the defender with all his tools. So this then goes directly to mentality. If, when Mr. Neanderthal does this, sorry, did I catch out of the, when the guy does this too, it's obvious that that strong person has most likely done this successfully before. So all that person's simply doing is going to reenact something that's worked for him lots of times before. So what I want you to do this time is, as soon as he grabs you, you've already lost your opportunity of escaping. He's got you, and within a second or so, he's going to be lifting you up. So I want you to wrap a grapevine around him. My coach used to call them grapevines, okay? We'll call it crane on a rock. Just keep it in Chinese perspective. You're going to wrap the outside leg around the front of him from here. Yeah, go ahead. And if you get it up higher, get it up high. And if you can put your instep behind the back of your other leg, can you do that? There you go. Yeah, get up high. That's that. And I want you, if you can get it there. If not, that's okay, but struggle for that. And what I want you to do with your free hand, now his head's on your right shoulder. What I want you to do is I want you to come up and dig your thumb into his eye socket. No, you'll never have the luxury of doing that. And take my word for it. No, ignore that. But what you will, you can use your left hand as your navigating skill to grab onto the gi or something like that, to keep, so he doesn't escape from the punishment you're going to give him. The result. And the right hand's going to be over his ear as your thumb finds his eye socket. You see what I mean? And believe me, okay, just relax for a minute. Not in this case. Filippo was saying, how about you attack the maxilla? This is called the maxilla. The maxilla is perfect. For example, let me pull out one of the deadliest weapons known to man. Okay, here we go. Ready? Run toward me, James. Go. So it's a very effective tool, okay? But in this case, this little chemistry, fight or flight stage, you enter through. There's a huge chemical explosion in your body, okay? You did I got stabbed twice. I didn't realize it until I was in a hospital later, and I look, oh my God, I got stabbed. You don't feel it unless it hits the bone or something like that. So because of the pandemonium, the chemical, the fear factor, you don't feel the pain much. And this one here, you're probably not going to feel the pain immediately. But let me pull out that dangerous weapon again. Close one eye. Just walk to where we go. So I tell you, that's why I say the thumb in the eye. You'll see it all through the Bubishi. Anytime a foot is caught or a guy goes for a single leg or something, come in a clinch, that's it right there. So go back to that again, however you were. Go back to that again. Hey, Graz, now get the leg in. Right, no. Just grab him first, James. Grab him. Yeah. So don't worry too much about position. This is your first time anyway, so don't worry about it. It's just, you got to hold on for dear life first. I mean, literally grab him, take that in there. Now you go searching for the eye. Yeah. Now, I may like to emphasize upon the fact that you're probably not going to have much time to get this to work. So your skill and fluidity to find your target zone is got to be very quick, but you got to secure the leg first because he won't be able to pick you up. So it's kind of let go again from the beginning. So it's kind of like a three-part. It's got to go like that, you know. Grab, look. Yeah, exactly. Okay, smoothly. Okay, go on the pickup first. Hey. Okay. There you go. Oh yeah. Don't be afraid to stick the finger in his eye. I will tell you this. What happens when I press? So this is called the suprasternal notch. I stab it. It's painful. Oh, sorry. I press it. Watch the gag reflex. It's very painful. But when I take my fingers away, there's no more pain. When I attack the periosteum, for example, the periosteum is the membrane that surrounds the skeletal structure. For example, watch. Very painful. Very painful. Very painful. The reason why these are all painful is because I'm attacking areas that are not covered with muscle. So there's only the bony protrusion. I'm only attacking the membrane, which is saturated with neural fiber. If I did it on his chest, it doesn't hurt. There's too much muscle there. If I move the muscle away and attack the skeletal structure, it'll hurt. So if I press like this, he'll just move away, you see? But he's grabbing a hold of me and I dig into his eye. He has a choice to make. Yeah. Oh, I got to tell you something. I always remember Simon Lowcock, SAS, former SAS guy. Now he was a federal cop, undercover guy, was my student in Brisbane. He and I used to beat the crap of each other all the time. He didn't know the word let go, and I didn't acknowledge pain. I remember one day I came home, I was bleeding from the ear, and he had bite marks all over his arm. What are you guys doing today? You know, he got me a technique where I wouldn't let go. And he's you know, this is called the mandibular fossa here. He just kept digging and digging. I wouldn't let go. I kept biting his shoulder. Yeah, so anyway, the blood came out of my ear, and he had teeth marks that went teeth right through. So there is that stupidity as well. I don't recommend that, by the way. So as soon as you feel the eye clench, what happens is the guy will either want to let go or he'll want to try to pull away from it. Either way, you exploit both opportunities. And all roads lead out of Dodge City, by the way. Everything is about running away. It's not standing there to beat the guy up. That's for another day. Okay, let's go again. Come on, James, manhandle him, James. Manhandle him. Oh, you're not, oh, you're still afraid to do that. Okay, relax. That's okay. That's okay. I understand why you're afraid. That's okay. Yeah, no, I like him a lot too. But so often it's very important to remember that at one point or another, your practice has to, if only a little bit, equal the reality of the issue. But under controlled circumstances, you know, that's very important. So anyway, okay, so Eugene. Hi. I'm going to teach you these multiple choki 12 kumite drills in the way that they are customarily learned. But I'm also going to tell you what I think, why the way they are delivered within the faction would not be functional. I'll show you why. Okay, so in this case, the attacker is always the aggressor. Rocket science, eh? So for example, so you give courtesy to each other. I'm the attacker, and by the way, you'll also, by looking at the structure of these, you can also see the era in which they came from, okay? Where boxing had only just found its way to Japan, by the way. The Jack Dempsey, George Carpenter 1921 March fight in New Jersey was the first boxing match that garnered $1 million gate. And it was shown here in Japan in June of 1921. And then discovered by the karate world in November of 1921. That's another story for another time, okay? So you give courtesy. I'm the attacker, so I step in like this. I step in like this. Meifu tote, okay? He's the defender, so he steps back like this. Open hands. Just right from here. All right? So you're attacking, so you step in, and I step back. Now, how far I step back depends on how far he steps in. You wouldn't want to just step in. That's not going to work too well. But at the same time, you don't want to do this either, okay? So drill number 1 is Motobu Choki's idea of effectively negotiating a left wide angle hook punch. So from here, he does this. He goes into the stance. I step back from here. He's going to then hook from here. He's going to take a step and hook into the face. As he steps in to hook, I'm going to do 2 things at once. One, I'm going to step in and come off the angle. So here's my friend. I'm going to come off the angle a little bit from here. I'm going to protect my face this way from here, you see? I'm merely going to put a fence up, hide my chin underneath it from here, and I'm going to reach out to stop his arm. I'm not going to say block it. I'm going to try to impede his ability to hit with the second hand. So I'm trying to separate his arms from the Meifu Tote position. So we're here, I'm here. He comes in, I go this, 1, you see? See how I am? I do this, 1. That's what I'm doing from here. As we do that again here, I do this. I grab, if there's a garment, I grab it. If it's not, I slide it down, I choke the wrist. Either your pick. You can tell they're meant for garments, so I'm going to grab, as I grab the garment, and I'm going to hikite it from here as I do the elbow strike to the face from here, okay? And then I'm just simply going to step back. That's the tradition. And like kendo, you watch the kendo kata? Oh, I go for Jodan. He blocks it and hits me back. Oh! So he sets it. One blow, 1 kill. That's why I think these drills were copied like that. Also, how can you photographically depict it in the 20s that way, you know? And these photographs are these are from 1926, by the way. So obviously that could be enough, but probably in the heat of a real fight, that probably wouldn't be enough. You'd probably have to do something else as well. So, but for here, so you give courtesy, hi, and you come to Yoe. He steps in, I step back. 1 hand comes down, 1 hand comes up. That's your come to mama. That's your relaxation. That's your position right here. As he steps in, you check it, and you got from here. As you hikite it, you bring that from here, and you slam it straight in. Okay, you can do the body if you want. Boom. I don't imagine anybody believes here that an elbow strike to the body would put somebody down. That's why I use the face, of course. But 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Hey! And then you come back. Are we good?
はい。
That's number one. はい、お願いします。Moto Buchoki, 1926, Kumite. Slow it down, slow, slow. Slow. So, Gene, it's a hook punch to the face. That's not a hook punch, Eugene. Hook travels in a circle. Vince, he doesn't have a garment, so you kake, you slide it down, you grab his forearm tight, and as you slide it down, you will choke his wrist and pull it in.
Are you just pivoting? Are you stepping with your elbow? Or just whatever feels good?
Good question. Did you see that question that Ben asked? Everybody?
Yeah.
It's a very important question. I tell you this, and this is why the questions are so important, and they must be asked all the time. Not, you know. So Ben asked the question again.
My question was, do you propose stepping in with your elbow strike, or just pivoting the hips, or it's whatever feels good at the time?
What would be the proper answer for his question? Anybody?
Depends on the situation.
100%. If you overshot it or undershot it, or he's too big or too small, or you got a bad elbow, or all those variables is what you're going to use. The only thing that's apparent here is that the engagement, the reception, and the response. Those up.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And oh my God, these drills are right down your alley, man. These are. Keep in mind that Otsuka Hironori, 1891 to 1981, not that I know much about him, who came from a jiu-jitsu background, by the way, before he lined up with Funagoshi Gichin, and before he said, oh, I'm going with Moto Buchoki instead, learned these. He would have 100% learned these. And a lot of the old Kumite engagement drills that he used to do were very almost identical to these before he systematized his own thing, you know. So this is right down Waterloo Lane, okay? And also in Shtoryu as well, keep in mind, there was a guy named Kokuba Kosei was his name, Okinawan. But Kokuba is the Okinawan pronunciation for his name. The Japanese pronunciation for his name is Kuniba. Kuniba Kuniba Kosei. And his son was Kuniba Shiogo, who migrated to United States when he married an American woman back in, I want to say, either the late 60s or very early 70s. And they used to head up an organization called Seishinkai. So this was a big part of their journey. Of course, he would go on to then innovate his own type of drills as well. But it's a big part of, a lost part of Shtoryu and a lost part of Wado-ryu. And I would bet any money these drills, they're easy to learn, you know, from a functional point of view, from a traditional point of view. But functionally, wow, these are.
Yeah, I was saying to Jim, that some of the things that James was doing from Wanshu, some of the kunkai that he did,
Yeah.
it was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, one of Otsuka's Yakusugi Kumite was that.
Yeah. Hey, just change partners. We'll just do one change today, okay? Hi, change partners. Yeah, go over there.
I'm too ugly, I'm gonna break the camera. That's what my ex-wife said.
So is your wife down with you? So like a vacation for you? Oh yeah, okay, got it. That's right. You pick me or they'll pick the martial arts. One of them, you can't have both. Okay. Okay, Yummy. Okay, watch here. So it was the same thing. Here he comes. Go ahead, go. And we did this, and I did this from here. Now watch what you're gonna do. Come on around, come over here. Yep. I'm gonna do this. So I'm on here, now I'm gonna do this. That's number one. You can call it Seipai. You can call it Nahanchi. You can call it whatever you want, I don't care. But you're gonna do this. After I go here, and here, then you're gonna do this while you're hooking. And then, of course, you're going to try to resist to get out of there, okay? But I want you to hook that. I want you then to bring your hand from here and bring it down from here. Now, I've got relatively control with here. And he's also got one free hand. So, because this is predetermined, I already know what I'm going to do. It's a template. What do you think the guy who's being hurt is going to do with the free arm? You've got to imagine that. At least, if he's not trying to hammer you or grab you or reach for his boot knife, he's going to be engaging you with that hand to maybe grab your hand to pull it away. So what I want you to do from here, when you do this and then you do this, is I want you to let the hand go, but bring your body a little bit closer to close the wedge. Bring your hand right here. Hook the hands like this. Doesn't matter that he's pulling your arm out. You are now using your hand as a lever. It's called a category 1. There's 3 categories of levers. This is category number 1, where you move the effort. The body's going to be the load. The fulcrum is going to be the head in there, okay? You're going to pull it up like this. So I've done this. I've gone from here. I've gone like this. And you're going to assume he's going to grab, but that's okay. Go ahead, grab, James. See how I slide my hand in tight from here? See how I close this wedge up from here? I do this. I do this from here. I grab here. So he's still free to grab me. But I'm going to apply the pressure here, you see? Now, so he cannot, and by the way, a classic for a headlock is here. And come out. And I've got all these targets on. Okay? That's a classic. You don't want him to do that. So I want you to lock that leg in as well, okay? Lock the leg in behind him so he can't position himself to stand up and walk out of the headlock, okay? Are we good? So 1, 2, 3, loop it, turn and grab, and get your free hand to grab the hand, get the practice of trying to pull the hand out. And rather than go like this, guys, rather than try to go, don't waste your time. Make hands part of your body, tilt it back and watch. This is called a styloid process. Watch it. I'm going to do that. I'm doing this part. I'm doing this, you see? And I'm tilting back as I lock the leg inside. Okay? Everybody knows what a tap is, right? Feel for the tap, okay? Hey, okay, let's go. Hey, Dozo, partner up. Let's go back. So this is your radial bone, and then you got a knob. The knob is called the condyle. It's the medial, that's the lateral, medial epicondyle. Sorry, medial epicondyle is up here. It's the styloid process, styloid process. And I'm doing this much. It's like when I do a choke as well, this way. I do 1, 2, 3. This is very light, but if I go down here, I can't get it. I get it very, very tight, now 1, 2, 3. Okay, now, so we're going to be, so we're ending 16 minutes ago. Sorry. So we'll go to 12:30, okay? lots of stuff to do. We're still on number 1, by the way, but I want to show number 1 now with a little bit of a variation. So I'm here, he steps in, I step back, he goes for the punch, I get out of the way from here, but I haven't got in far enough. So I go, so I do that first. That's the first, okay? And then, bang, from here. Same thing from here. But I can't get my leg wrapped around. So I'm going to do this, by the way. See, I'm like this now. I'm going to do this. I'm going to foot sweep, knee, and stomp is what I'm going to do. This is a classic movement that Miyagi Chojun used to teach when he taught Naihanchi. Here's a good one for you, Goju guys. Miyagi Chojun didn't teach Naihanchi? Oh, yes, he did. Yeah, of course he did. So you're going to do the Ashibarai, the knee strike, and the stamp. And you're going to do it on that lead foot. You're going to go like this. So everybody understands this theory. This is not a moving target. I hit it. I'm not a mathematician, but let's say that that's 100% PSI, right? I've delivered 100% energy into that. But now that's moving back proportionally. I'm not the mathematician. Let's say it's moving back at 1 mile an hour, or 5 miles, whatever. When I hit it, the PSI is reduced because of the backward motion. You understand? What happens on the other side of that? What happens when it's coming this way and you hit it? It increases the kinetic energy transfer, doesn't it? So I'm like this. I've just foot swept the guy. What happens to his body weight? It goes down. And you're in the process of coming up at the same time, yes? Make sure there's a word in Japanese we call hyoshi. It means timing and rhythm. Make sure you use that here. Because when I have him here, and somebody goes, well, what leg do you use? I don't know. I guess the closest one in the front. How would that happen? Well, how about if I went like this? Watch. Wouldn't that work? I just drag him forward and put a little extra pain on him something. So I foot sweep, bang, a knee, and then I'm going to stamp down on the metatarsal. Okay, where's the metatarsal? It's attached to the foot. And it's going to be I can't see it from here, is it? But look, I just need him from here. Oh, look, there's his leg. What's at the bottom of his leg? His foot. Now watch this. Here's something that's really important. When I hit, I want to do this. Watch. I want to take him down without throwing him with my hands. For the lack of a better description, that was stomp, slide up into a nekoashi dachi. That's what that movement is. So, I checked, I impacted, I headbutt, I slid in, I took that moment to do this. I was fighting with him to get my hands in, to get my head, like I did with the clinch. Remember the clinching? So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to get in the clinch there, see? When I get around, I got him locked in tight. For those of you having some problem getting that head attached, I just want to show you one little tiny thing here that will help change the veracity of if you're up against a really big, strong guy. The skull has how many nerves? A bunch. I got a bunch. It has 12. There are 12 cranial nerves, okay? 12. And there's a little acronym that you can learn how to remember them. O2, ta-ta-ta. I'll teach you that later, okay? We're going to go and dig our fingers into the hypoglossal nerve. Yeah, if you're a dentist, you always know what that one is. The hypoglossal nerve is hiding behind the mandible here. So here's the tip, here's the mandibular fossa, measure halfway down and come up front underneath. And the reason why that never really hurts anybody is because it's a very difficult one to activate. Remember, location, tool, angle, direction, and intensity. That's the way you get at nerves. But here, I've got him here. Here, I can do it this way. Guys, come on around here. I got him with the headlock, you see? Just move that away. So part of his jaw is already exposed. So all I'm going to do is do this. Watch. Here's the mandible. See? I'm going to go underneath it like this, and watch it. I'm just tired. Now, I got to dig into it. I'm going to dig it and gouge it. On the inside of your jaw, it's like a little bud that comes out like this. I'm going to dig into it to get that feeling. So his attention is going to be away from pulling my hand away to getting his head out of there. So if you're here and you can't get it, just dig in to find the joy. And even if you're digging in and you can't find it, anywhere from the mandibular fossa down is a highly sensitive area. You're going to have a lot of pain there, right? And now you do the foot sweep, and now you do the knee, and then you do the stomp. And when you get the stomp, hold them, and then over-rotate that ankle. Keep the screams to a minimum on this one, okay? So, hey, let's go to work. Knee. Stomp. Eugene, let me say something to you for a minute. So, Filippo, of course, is a strong, big, and he's grounded. So when you sweep his leg doesn't move. So what you need to do, and you need to do this prior to sweeping his leg, is when you crank him, you got to bring him up to the threshold of pain first. How you will know that, let me just tell everybody. Yummy? Listen, remember I used the term predetermined response? PDR, my acronym. And the PDR is the pain withdrawal reflex, okay? PWR, pain withdrawal. So if I know, for example, so just watch, I got a microphone. If he's grabbing me, two hands, and being a bully, what I want to do is I don't want to really hurt him badly, but I want to teach him a lesson, and he's never going to do this again. So I can't go like this, because I'll go like that. He'll just lift his arm out to block it, you see? He'll see it coming. So I create the distraction. See? That way, and then that way, and because I just do that on the ears, okay? Well, I know that's going to happen. So there's going to be like a 1, 2, 3, right? So the same thing with this here. When I foot sweep him here, if he's got all his weight on his leg, I'm not going to be able to do that. But if I have him from here, watch, I have this. See what happens? He will up like that. I knew he's at the threshold of pain because he will, and I heard him as well. That's when I foot sweep him. So that's why I say, one thing is the theory. Thank you, okay, now I have it. The other thing is the practice. With everybody, 10, 15, 20 minutes, 1 hour, 1 week, 1 month, 2 months, 50 different partners. You do that so many times with so many people for so long, you got it. It's yours. And anytime you wind up in a position like that, that's one go-to technique that you've got, you see? It might not be the one that you're going to stay with. You might even mix and marry it with something else, depending on what the story. You might go like this and realize, oh shit, he's got a knife in his boot. I think I'll just grab the knife and start stabbing him, well, whatever. But the idea that it's not fixed, it's their principles. So wait for the gouge. One valuable lesson I learned from John Grosnoff. Thank you, John. John was my wrestling coach in high school. Olympic wrestler, by the way, and high school teacher, phys ed teacher. And he said, when we were freestyle wrestling in those days, collegiate wrestling, I was always so freaked out if I got against, guys who looked, they weren't just strong, they looked strong. Chiseled body, I would go, that was always very intimidating for me. The best shape of my knife, I never looked like that type of thing. So it always freaked me out. And he would say, he called me Mac, he goes, Mac, don't let it bother you. It doesn't matter how they look. It only matters how they function. So if you have this, or you think you cannot last for 3 more seconds, or you're arm barring him and it's not working, just relax. Hold on until you have to change. And that was a very valuable lesson for me, because a lot of times I say, I got to get out of that right away. Or I can't, oh my, I can't, that arm bar's not working. What I didn't know, if I would have held it for 2 more seconds, I would have had him. So don't rush through your technique. Find out what works for you, what doesn't work for you. You need to tweak things, tweak them. Tweak them until they get to work for you. Remember the quote, not everybody can do the same thing the same way to achieve the same outcome. And here you are at, it's his birthday, so I'm not going to say his age. Here you are at 34, world karate champion, Mr. Adonis. Nobody is better looking or stronger or in the whole wide world than you. And now here you are at 82. People are going, what happened? So even you will not be able to do the same thing the same way because of the ravages of age and so on. But the principles never falter. Okay, let's spend the last couple of minutes on that, okay? Hey, I saw those are. One more time. One more time. So that's your Naihanchi right there. Yeah. Yeah, that's your Naihanchi. Yeah. Yeah. Well, James, try to roll the ankle over to get him down and stay on his foot. Don't let him go, yeah. No, go back. So, foot sweep and knee the groin. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Now you're over a little bit far. He's letting you take him down right now. But remember, so the stomp is with the heel, but then you slide your foot back like this to use the ball of the foot against his instep to push his ankle over. Yeah. Go down, go take him down. Go down. Now stay right there, stay. See how his leg came up like that? He would be a fool if he did not try to kick you with that. And you would expect him to try to kick you. So what you do is when he kicks you, grab his leg. Yeah. Now remember, there are 3 types of hand position. Well, sorry, there's 4, but the 4th is no good, okay? Yeah, this is called an S clamp, S clamp. This is called ball and chain, like when you shoot from here. Cup and saucer. And this is called a gable grip. The gable grip is no thumbs. You do it like this. It's a butterfly grip like this. You see when you do this and you go like that, that's the butterfly grip. You use the butterfly grip and use the styloid process up against his Achilles tendon. No, here. Here, give me your other leg. You still stay there, so we can share. We're sharing legs. Wishbone.
Double thing.
So you see, he's like this.
Right.
You want him like this. You want the instep here. You see this way, and you want this here. So I go like this. That's where you got to come up under here and use the styloid process. No, you can't let him turn.
Yeah.
No, you sit here. You still here. So you go too deep, you slide out. And then you got here. See this here? That's right here. And then I go here, and then like this. So I go this. And now I'm going to roll you over, okay? So I go over like this. So you keep here like this. And then you can hold this like this way. Or then I come around this way from here, and I do this, and I do the ankle hook from here. See that? And which is that's not a hand sandan, by the way. You know, you go like this. You know, it's not. We do that later. Oh, no. Back over. Go back over. Hold it there, hold it. Now, first of all, step on his leg, because he'll kick you with it. Yeah. Now, remember this. Don't be nice to the black belt. Don't consider him when you're stepping over him. You only consider your own safety, not his. Okay? Because if you see you're accommodating by bending, just step over him. Step over, step. There you go, good. Now stand up tall, stand up tall, stand up tall. There you go, good. So we call this the scorpion technique for obvious reasons, right? Can you imagine, we're not going to do it, Philip, so don't worry. But can you stay there. Can you imagine if you stepped on his ankle right now with a free foot?
Yeah, it's nasty.
That will bust his ankle so badly. So try to keep your foot like this. There. That's safer for you that way. Good. Now you step up. Good. Now step over one more time. This way. And keep that lock and don't change. Step over, step. Turn into him more. No. Where are you going, James? I just said, don't put your foot on the ground. There you go. Yes. When you turn that way, he's going to get the pain, not you.
Right.
But you've already let him go.
Yeah, there we go.
So, a heel hook is, if you look in the dictionary under pain, I think number 1 might be pregnancy, 2 is the heel hook. Yeah. And I tell you, I learned that from Uncle Gene. You know who Uncle Gene is? Gene LaBelle. Let me tell you, nothing is more painful in the world than that heel hook. I swear, it's something else. Okay. We're finishing 33 minutes ago. So, we'll just tag another. Are we going anywhere? Yeah, so we're breaking for lunch. Is that what it is?